guys, welcome to the Gotta Have Miami show. This is episode 25. And since we're getting fancy because we've got a new subscribers, we've almost got like 100 subscribers, which is like, yay, a big deal. Thank you for all the guys, all the folks that reached out and gave us a big push to subscribe.
Yeah.
So Ashley wants to do like now an official intro to kind of tell you what and who we are, which may be helpful. So go ahead, what's your intro?
Well, my name is Ashley.
I'm Javier.
And this is Javier.
Jav.
We're Miami natives and local real estate agents.
Yep.
Here to talk about how culture, society, politics all influence the real estate market.
In the real estate market in Miami and Miami-Dade County as a whole. So here we are. Now let's this is a test today. So today we're going to talk about affordable housing and why I've always felt it's very difficult to build affordable housing in Miami-Dade County. So that's going to be the topic. So here we're going to give you a tip, or kind of a little secret. So if you look back there, that is the map of my homeland, Cuba. And if you look around there, you look at all the trees and stuff like that, you would say to yourself, where are you? Are you in Coconut Grove? Are you in Coral Gables?
Are you?
Are you in some fancy little neighborhood? Well, actually, we're on one of our favorite streets, which is a lot of people don't know about it, which is 13th Avenue. And we're only about a block and a half from 8th Street, which
so
is...
essentially, we're in Little Havana.
We're in Little Havana. So when you look at the dynamics of affordable housing, one of the things that you notice is all of this lush landscaping behind us. And this is one of the things that we're starting to suffer from in Miami-Dade County, that we have a lot of beautiful places. A lot of folks want to come down here.
Yeah.
And then all of these little modest homes that are around us are all of a sudden becoming very, very popular. And as we would say in the industry, unaffordable. To the main masses. And this is one of the pressures that we have in Miami-Dade County on affordability, is that we have a lot of great places, a lot of people come to them, and they actually push out and gentrify. If you want to use the word gentrification, they start to push out. This is a classic example.
Yeah.
But you've got this beautiful street, and it's been here for quite some time. It's been ignored for a lot of years, and now all of a sudden it's become one of the more popular spots.
I mean, and I think this neighborhood particularly is blooming because we have a lot of...
blooming, that's like the whole foliage thing that you got. I like that.
We have a bunch of non-Floridians moving to Florida and likely working in downtown. And if you don't want to live in a condo building, this is like your next best option, because you're not going to sit in an hour of traffic to get to work. You're generally close to the city, but you are looking at probably a $1 million old house.
And again, it's just what we're hopefully to convey today is why affordability and why building affordable homes in South Florida in particular. We're not going to even talk about all of Florida or all of Miami-Dade County, but let's just talk about the city of Miami. And we have very, very quite a few factors that kind of put pressure on our affordability. And first one that I want to talk about is that we've made residential real estate a short-term investment.
Right.
So unless you are willing to change that law, which is a federal law that was put in 1999, in the old days, you bought a house, you lived in it for 30 years, 40 years, you basically had it, and it was a long-term investment. It wasn't used as something that was short-term. But the laws changed in 1999, and that's really when the market started to see a huge change.
Yeah.
You were not even born back then.
I was.
You were like, what, 8?
9?
9, okay, so she was 9. So we just gave away her age, by the way, which is you never do. But one of the realities is that this tax law came into effect, and it said if you homesteaded, you and I, if we homesteaded a property and we lived it 2 out of 5 years, and we sold it, we could keep $500,000 of that profit, tax-free.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden what it did was it made residential real estate, and here's the key word, residential real estate, a short-term investment.
Yeah.
It is not long-term anymore. Now I can live it. And I saw it in Coconut Grove immediately starting in the year 2000. You could see it that we had people that were buying homes, these little rinky-dink homes. Woodridge was a classic example in South Grove, where these folks were buying homes, living them 2 years, selling them, making $250K, cashing out, putting it in your pocket, go to the next one, and go to the next one. And so we're talking 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006. The market changed a little bit, but that is what began this affordability. Is that a word?
Unaffordability?
Unaffordability. That is what started this whole trend.
Right.
And then, so unless you're willing to make that change in a federal component, you're going to have to live with this. This is what happened. Residential real estate went from a long-term investment, which I always hated the word. It's your biggest investment. It's this, it's that. No, it's where you live. It's your home. But the key was we made it a short-term investment vehicle that, by the way, is quite profitable.
Yes.
Because it's tax-free, and that's the key. You know, we're not talking about some investment that you can only put $7,000 away, and then it becomes a tax-free investment over the years and over and over and over. No, this is something that you could put 500 grand in your pocket.
But
Done.
I don't think our culture is, I think our culture has adapted to your home being essentially an investment vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, most people in my generation, their first home is not their forever home. That's
Right.
not the mentality
Right,
anymore.
correct.
Their first home is their first investment.
Right.
That's the mentality. That's our culture. So, you know, especially in Miami-Dade County, we've talked about how Miami-Dade County has this entrepreneurial investor sort of
Yeah, for
mentality.
sure.
So it's hard to make affordable housing for that reason, because of the culture expectation. And also you have to determine what would be affordable. So what's the income? And that brings up another issue that's specific for Miami-Dade County is the shadow economy.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's that'll take us to step number 2. So step number 2, and again, we try to stay topical with some of the issues that are going on. And right now, affordability is really on the conversation of Miami-Dade County, of the city of Miami, and we also have, like, the feds came down and said that we were the most unaffordable town. Yeah, how offended, come on. So, you know, that's one of the things that came down, and this became one of the big topics. And they reference a report or a study that FIU did, and they interviewed the professor and all of this. And I was actually privy to that document, to all of those, you know, that study. And very fancy, the classic, you know, student. Yeah, have a lot of prints, a lot of statistics, a lot of everything.
And words.
Yeah, just a lot. Yeah, words and numbers that you try to put together and all that good stuff. And I remember going in, and the first question I asked was, did this study take into account the shadow economy? And they looked at me as like if I was from another planet. So what do you mean? And I'm thinking, well, you know, the city of Miami probably runs about 35% in cash. So that's one of the realities, that anytime that you do these reports, if you do not factor these things into it, yes, we may be the most poorest or whatever. I love the rooster. We got a rooster. You know, we're in Little Havana.
Rooster.
Yeah, we got a shout out to Joe Carollo, our the president of Little Havana.
Oh, 2 roosters.
Right, 2 roosters. Here we go. That's how you know you're in Little Havana. But again, we go back to this report that's done in these studies, and governments are making these decisions based upon information that is not correct. It's not up to date, and it's not proper. So, you know, we have to factor in the shadow economy, which brings us to one of your conversations that you said, how can people that still live here afford to live here if we're so poor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting off my real estate career. I don't have any of these big whales that we talk about, right? My clients are just your average Joes.
Yep.
I'm talking nurses, school teachers, average Joe jobs, not doctors, not lawyers, not fancy people,
Right.
finance people.
None of the big shots in the Rolls Royces rolling down here.
And if they're able to buy a house, then why are we not affordable?
Right.
Are we less affordable than other cities? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Miami is probably not the place for everybody. There is very much a keeping up with the Jones culture, and that's not for everybody.
Now we have 4.
They're multiplying.
We have fans. We actually have there's 5.
Live audience.
Yeah, live audience in the we're very popular in the foul market demographic. I love it. But yeah, you know, Ashley's point is actually correct. It's like, if we are this, it's because the statistics, the numbers aren't correct. And I always said this: statistics are for losers. And I use this as a football.
I didn't see that coming.
No, you didn't see that? Okay, so basically in football, you can have all the stats you want. You could be the passing leader, this and that, but if you lose the game 3-0, you lost.
Yeah.
So when all these folks come down here and tell us that this, and this, and we're saying, hey, we're still selling, we still have the market, we have clients that are still making moves.
Yes.
We have clients that are making moves.
I mean, and if you think about it, even your average Joes, like your teachers and your nurses and firefighters and whatnot, in Miami, most of those people have a quote-unquote side hustle, which is where they're making their cash at, which is probably where they're stashing their savings at, which is how they're going to buy a house, and that's just the Miami culture, and if that's not for you, that's okay. You know, but I don't think it's fair to say we're unaffordable.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel very lucky that I afford my mortgage every month. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same as me, because I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not unaffordable.
Right. No. And again, that doesn't mean that there are not pressures on affordability. I mean, that's just one of the realities of it, because our market is a very a market that a lot of people desire,
Yeah.
a lot of people want because of these situations. You look around us, yeah, it's a little bit hot, but not right now, because we're
gorgeous.
inside. It's beautiful right now. It's 95 degrees outside, but we're under the street cover, so it's
And
really
we have
nice.
the ocean breeze.
And we have the ocean breeze going right now. But again, from an affordable standpoint, I think where we're seeing it is we're seeing it more in the rental market because of the demand,
Yeah.
the rental demand, and also now we're looking at where the interest rates have moved, even though they came down, you said?
Yeah, half a point.
They came down.
So going to rentals, insurance we know is going to be an issue specifically for the condo buildings coming up. So that's going to increase rent, So it's not the landlord's fault when he's going to hike you up another $500 a month next year. It's the insurance.
It's insurance, and it's also taxes. So
Yeah.
we go back to the affordability. So we touched on one. We touched on the 1999 federal law. That's a federal law that created a wealth component, which not anybody's against. It's a wealth component, but it changed the way that residential real estate. Again, we're going back to residential real estate was viewed and treated. Now let's go to the second one, which is the state level. So the state level in 1992 says, hey, you know what? We're going to protect homeowners that have been in their homes for a long time, and we're going to do Save Our Homes, which is homestead exemption. So now you have the ability that if you own a home, just like you own a home, you're only being taxed 3%.
Right.
Now I'm an investor. I own a property. That property is at the mercy of a local government that has to support not only Miami-Dade, but the city of Miami in our case, and also the school board. And they have to, up your taxes. They can up it 10% a year, and they do, and they do, and they will, and they always will. One of the things that I think the viewership should look at, and this is public knowledge, and you can look at it, is look at your city and county budgets. See where all of your money is going and how it's being. And let me tell you something. You will be very, very surprised that you'll realize that a lot of the money is being used in just employment, not even to keep this beautiful park up. And that's one of the things that really have to be addressed. But that was a law that was passed by the state.
Right.
So that's a state law. So now we have a federal law, we have a state law. So let's go to a local law that you would say, okay, how has this affected the real estate market? So let's give you one. I'm going to give you, it's kind of going to be a very interesting one because it's kind of state and kind of local. And we're going to kind of go off on a separate tangent. But it's called home rule. And when the state imposes something, so right around me, this is a very great little neighborhood. I bet you that some of these homes are being used as Airbnbs, which is, it's against the law in the city of Miami. Because the city of Miami says that you can outrun a hotel or an establishment within a residential neighborhood. But I'm sure that these are done. Because of the culture that we're in, we are very property rights oriented.
Right.
So those things are protected. So now these kind of vehicles, these investment vehicles, which we are an investment culture in Miami-Dade County, start to take inventory from the streets.
Right.
So we have clients that own 20, 30 properties that manage them, and they are rental properties. But let's say we take those 30 and put them into an Airbnb format. So we turn them into hotels. Now we're taking 30 units that would have been used
For
for
housing.
affordability, for housing. In other words, we're lowering the demand or the pressures of supply and demand by adding supply. Now you're saying to yourself, okay, we are taking these units away and putting them into an investment vehicle.
Right.
And not against anything against Airbnb. I believe in the original format, which was if you are homesteaded and you live in this property and you want to rent one of your rooms to some complete stranger, hey, that's cool, that's on you. But to buy properties and to turn them into Airbnbs, that is an issue.
And in a
that's a
perfect
local.
world, I don't think it's an issue, but in the fact that we're a peninsula and we have
Yeah.
limited land, it's an issue because you have no place to actually live.
No, you don't. And again, it's about supply and demand. So now the county is coming up with some ideas, which I think one of them is actually very interesting. I proposed something similar when I was running for commissioner years ago. Is that schools? We have a lack of schools.
Yeah.
So and then now we have a lack of housing. So what they're trying to do is put housing on the schools.
Right.
You know,
Like
in
a
school,
building.
Yeah, in school property. I proposed that every time that we built all these big buildings on Brickell didn't have any schools. You can actually do schools on the first level.
Couple levels.
Yeah, first levels, because you have it was proposed for retail. But again, going back to the affordability, you have outside issues that make it very, very difficult to make properties affordable or to continue to construct.
Yeah.
And let's not even get into the insurance.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
That's a
show.
whole shit show. All right, so you're talking about, let's say these folks are going to say, I'm gonna. That's a rooster. Either that, or I think I may have an ulcer. So we're going to build, or we're going to attempt to build this affordability, right? So we've got all these great ideas, we've got all these new properties. Now we're going to build all of these big buildings, and guess what? You're going to have to insure them. And in a couple of years, who's going to insure these things? To make it, again, affordable. Unless we change laws in the state of Florida that say, you came up with one about the land.
Let's leave the land one and insurance for the next show.
Okay.
Because I feel like the insurance topic is a whole unit in itself, and it's very important. And I don't think most people understand.
Okay.
So let's leave it for the next show.
Okay. Ooh, a little tease. I like that.
Yeah, you like that?
a little tease. And it's funny, we just mentioned, and I apologize to get in front, but we just mentioned the fact about this big buildings being built like on the transit corridor.
Yeah.
Right where we are, we already see signs that say no against a development that is supposed to be built over on Biscaya. So it's very, very difficult. It's a very complex issue.
All right, so we'll talk about that next show. And thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Ashley.
Javier.
And this was the Gotta Have Miami show.
And subscribe. We need as many subscribers as possible. Is that what you say?
If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so now.
Yep.
And if you've already subscribed, share the show with a friend.
Exactly. All right. So guys, thank you, and we'll see you on Friday.
All
Be
right.
well.
Thank you.